From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, welcome to episode 199 of Dale Carter's America, the podcast. Big changes are on the way, so 199 is a little wonky. 200 is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm Dale Carter. He's Kurt Wheeler. Just to give you a behind-the-scenes tour here, the camera that's aimed at me, hello, is propped up on a box and some sticky notes here in the studio. Yours is propped up on some paper. I don't know what the hell that is.
It's very important papers.
All right.
You know, we're going to have our first episode in the new studio that I'm building at my house is going to be episode 200. So I figured might as well just have the shittiest setup imaginable right before that.
This is as shitty as it was, you know, back when we were in the little room and we weren't even doing video. So
I don't know about that.
This is bare bones.
It's not that bad,
as they say. Maybe we have like a marching band next week, you know, for episode 200.
That's not what you said before we started recording.
I know, but I'm not saying that. Yeah. Actually, there is an establishment not far from you in Raytown where we could get some dancing girls.
That's
if you
true.
will.
There's several. Raytown is a teeming hive of culture. We love it. We love our little community.
Right now, Bob Watson's going, why am I paying for this? Why am I part of this podcast? You know why you are, Bob, because you're part of my family. Have been for almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years in March. Incredible. And Bob's been insuring people with State Farm for 50 years. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Why do I think State Farm's a great brand? Well, it's not just me. Don't take my word for it. How about Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Coach Reed? You know, the coaches of the AFC champion, back-to-back Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. If they love State Farm, you should love State Farm, right? So get a rate quote today from my friend Bob Watson. He's been at this a long time, been taking care of families just like mine, wants to take care of yours too. 816-229-7878, Auto, Home, Life, Commercial Insurance, licensed in Missouri and Kansas. Let Bob Watson and his team take care of you. It starts with a rate quote at 816-229-7878. I did mention some Chiefs folks, and the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. In fact, today, this pullover I'm wearing, I don't know if we can get the logo or not.
Yeah, we can see it.
It's the Super Bowl 57 logo. You may recall the Chiefs beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57, and we're playing the Eagles again for Super Bowl 59, and I know you're a Philadelphia fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Chiefs fan too. I'm a fair weather Chiefs fan. I've fully admitted it the entire time. I'm also a fair weather Eagles fan. I don't really follow sports that closely unless teams are doing well. So
we don't have a wager that we could make on this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, do you have a take on the game and what it's going to take for the Chiefs to win?
Well, we're going to stop Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
No question about that. I mean, you saw what he did to Washington. The first two carries, he ran for very long runs for touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a key. And what we saw in that first drive from the Chiefs against Buffalo, they're going to have to replicate that. That thing was like precision.
Yeah.
And then they went out in the second drive, you may recall, and they looked really sloppy.
Yeah.
So can't look sloppy, got to be precise, got to stop Saquon Barkley. Well, think about it, and maybe for episode 200 we can come up with,
Yeah, we got one more episode before
something
before
reasonable
the Super Bowl, so
that we could have.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that, though. I would say the entire game comes down to Saquon Barkley against the Chiefs linebackers, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, and the like, because he's going to get through the D-line. I mean, if the D-line can stop him, that's even better, but I think the Chiefs have to stop him from those explosive plays. If he gets over 120 rushing and more than one touchdown, Eagles win. If he doesn't, Chiefs win. Simple as.
Okay. Well, we'll see if any of that comes true in Super Bowl 59. I just know that there's a chance for me to get a fourth ring.
Yeah.
Love that.
You're running out of fingers.
It's fine. I got more fingers. I got toes on top of it. So they can keep this run going as long as they want to keep it going. Of course, you tune into this podcast not to hear us talk about the Chiefs and Eagles and Super Bowl and game plan and all that stuff. You tune in for our take on politics, and there is plenty of that today, which we are going to get to. This morning, we record this on Tuesday morning. I don't know if you don't come in I-70, do you?
No.
Okay. So I'm driving in from home to work this morning, and the first thing I see on the scout sign is I-70 is closed at Nolan Road. Find an alternate route. And that was at 2:30 in the morning. And it was closed until almost 7 o'clock this morning.
Wow.
Why was it closed? Because a wrong-way driver knocked out several vehicles, actually killed somebody this morning as we're recording this. Wrong-way driver at dark 30 in the morning. Do you think maybe alcohol might have been involved in that? Be careful out there. Heads up, hands at 10 and 2. Even if you're out in the wee hours of the morning, that's when the drunks are really out there. Just be careful, my friends. And if perchance you get in an accident and they ask you where do you want to take the wreck, if you want it back showroom new and know that you're dealing with a local company, you tell that wrecker, take it to Dale's Body Shop. He's operated for over 37 years in the Kansas City area. He's in Blue Springs on 40 Highway, but trust me, police agencies that wreck cars quite a bit. I mean, they're involved in a lot of accidents. They take their cars to Dale's in Blue Springs because they know he's going to treat them right and get those vehicles back on the road showroom new. They've got that reputation. If you get in a wreck and they say, where are we taking this? All you got to know is Dale. And if you listen to Dale Carter's America, that should be pretty easy for you to remember. Just saying. If you've got a relative, or maybe it's you who's approaching 65, Medicare is going to be a big part of your life. Donald Trump was talking yesterday at a speech talking about the need for reducing our federal government. But again, he said we're not going to touch Social Security and Medicare. Medicare is still going to be there. It's run by the federal government. So it's easy and simple, right? Of course it's not. It's like the multi-headed hydra that the federal government is. But when you turn 65, you definitely want it, and you want it the right way. And there will be some other things that you need, some extensions to Medicare. That's where Medicare Simplified KC comes in. Kirk Doris, Lori Hocker, give them a call and start that process. 816-701-6661. You can read all about them on their website, terrific website, MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Find out everything you need to know because Medicare is definitely not one size fits all. Find out what Medicare means for your particular situation with the fine folks at Medicare Simplified KC.
Tremendous people.
So would you say that Donald Trump has come in like a whirlwind?
There's a lot happening, that's for sure.
Oh, my gosh. And the poor press corps, right? Because they had to make the transition from sleepy Joe Biden's White House, where it was like, the day may start at 10, right?
Yeah, how many press conferences did Biden have again? Like 3?
Not very many. And when he had a press conference, you know how those went, right? It's like, well, I've been told I've got a list of people to call on here, right?
Yeah.
And he had like pictures to go with them and all that. And the lid was always at 4 o'clock. No more news coming out of the White House.
Yep.
4 p.m. solid.
Bedtime.
And that was late for Joe Biden. Not that way with Donald Trump. He might be up at 2 o'clock in the morning and be on Truth Social putting out a take that is newsworthy because he's the president of the United States. So it's definitely become a different deal.
Yeah, here's his this is not official, but it seems pretty legit. This rollcall.com public presidential schedule, so you can kind of go through and see. I mean, for example, Friday, January 24th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different stops starting at 9 a.m. on the south lawn of the White House. He's going to Asheville Regional Airport. He has a meeting with families affected by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Then he goes to L.A., and he has a meeting at the Pacific Palisades about the fire in LA, and then he flies to Vegas.
Yeah.
All in one day.
He's definitely working hard.
Yeah.
And I think he knows what we talked about on an earlier podcast, that he's got 600 some odd days to get things done before this midterm election. He even joked yesterday in his speech that, I may run for a third term. Boy, the liberals probably went crazy on that. I've raised a lot of money. Why not?
I love it. I mean, even just for the troll, I mean, I'm sure he's not serious. And
no.
If he is, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But, just to get the hair on fire immediately is great.
Well, he knows he's got a short clock that he's working with before the midterms, and he promised, first and foremost, we're going to clean up the border, and we're going to get rid of the people, the criminals. And I love this, the worst first policy, right? Mm-hmm. Because the Democrats want you to believe that poor little grandma over here, Abuela is going to be kicked out of the country. And you've seen the images of the young men of military age with, criminal backgrounds who have come to this country, who have committed murder, rape, the worst of the worst. And we're going to get rid of them. I love this video you're about to show.
Yeah, it's guys like this that are going, and this tells so much. We can comment on this after.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Señor, ¿cómo se llama?
And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by a sanctuary jurisdiction, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back into the community, and when we went to go find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
All right. So I don't know how much more of this you want to play,
no,
but
fine.
It brings me to an interesting point, because I have seen cases where, they found a really bad guy and he was with somebody who had not committed an additional crime other than being in the country illegally. So my advice to illegal immigrants, I'm not going to fall for calling you migrants and all that. We're not about the PC speak that you hear everywhere else. If you're an illegal immigrant to this country, you better keep your head down. You better stay away from the troublemakers, because there is no way that they're going to be able to find everybody who is in this country illegally. And I know that a lot of them are really good, hardworking people. They came here to get a better life for their families. Maybe they decided to take a shortcut and go to the head of the line. You better stay away from people who are about to be kicked out because they're on this list. The worst first. And if you happen to be there and you're illegal, you're out.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen here.
Don't get caught up in the wash.
Don't be collateral.
Yeah.
Because they're doing their job. They're enforcing federal law. I mean, heads are exploding on the left, but all ICE is doing right now is enforcing the law. And what you're seeing is these mayors and governors from Democrat states who said, I will stand in the breach and take care of these people. I'm going to let Donald Trump come in here and do all this. Some of them are changing their tunes.
Yeah.
The governor of Massachusetts, one of those. The governor of Colorado is another one. Even Gavin Newsom in California. You know who's not changing their tune? The mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. They're basically out there saying, we defend this. Everything you just saw that Kurt played on that video, those are really bad people. Bad people.
Yeah, it was a guy who was arrested 17 times for violent crimes.
Yeah.
Another guy, arrested for armed robbery, rape, murder, you name it. And, when people come at you with these empathetic, plays to your emotion, and the abuela, getting dragged out of the house by her, on her hands and knees or whatever, just show them that video and say, what about this person? Does this person belong in our country or not? And yeah, they're enforcing the law. They're doing the bare minimum to enforce the law. I mean, this is the bare minimum. This is people that have committed multiple violent crimes, people that we know about. That's the other thing. It's like, they don't have to go find these people, right? They know exactly where they are.
Exactly.
There was a guy that was released the day before. They know exactly where they are. They know where to find them. They just have to go get them, because the states have not been turning over the information to ICE when people are arrested. They hide it from the federal government, but everyone knows where they are. You can just go get them, and you can just do things. The mayors and the governors can cry. They can bitch and moan all they want. It doesn't matter. Just go arrest them and deport them. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah. And, they're spreading the word. They're going back to their home countries and saying, hey, new sheriff in the States, don't even bother to try and get in there, because they're going to find you and they're going to get you out. So that also helps that they're spreading the word. Let's move on to Colombia. So did you see the long line of these criminals who went on a C-130 or other transport plane? I mean, we're not sending them back first class. We're sending them on a transport plane back to their country of origin. Well, the president of Colombia said, you can't send them back like prisoners, even though that's exactly what they are, right? We want them sent back in comfort and all that. And he said, we won't let your military plane land in Colombia. Different sheriff. There's a different guy running things now. Where Joe Biden, when he wanted to get tough with somebody, you know what he would say? He'd say, my word to them is, don't.
Yeah, right.
Donald Trump said, you let the fucking plane land, or we're going to immediately put a 25% tariff on everything coming out of your country to ours. And if you let it go longer than a week, it's going to be a 50% tariff. Now, I've said on this podcast, and I stand behind this, I don't agree with tariffs in a general way, because it always comes back to you and me. It's just like when the Democrats say, we're only going to tax the rich, and they pat themselves on the back. We know that the end user always pays this. And, Colombia exports a lot of coffee to the United States, and that would hit me as a coffee drinker. Would hit you. Do you drink coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it would hit you there as well. So I don't like tariffs because they always get paid for by the end user, which is you and me. But I like them as a threat. Man, that guy probably had to change his underwear after that, right?
Yeah, and he caved immediately.
I mean, it was like boom. Before the outrage could hit social media, it was resolved.
Yeah. Yeah, so the sequence of events, Trump sends illegals back to Colombia. Colombia refuses flights. Trump levels them with tariffs. Colombia sends their presidential plane to come get those same migrants. Everyone suddenly realized that the Democrats could have fixed this at any time and intentionally did not. And that, that's the truth too. I mean, it's like what I was saying about the criminal illegals. They knew where they were. They knew that they had to go, and they just didn't do it. And so, like I said, you can just do things. You can just deport people, you know.
Which hole was Trump on when he made this decision?
So this is literally the day that all this happened. Trump was at Doral, his golf course in Florida. So now this is not guaranteed that this is exactly what he was doing, but he's sitting in a golf cart here. I got to mute that, but he's sitting in his golf cart just like on his phone. And then he just walks into the clubhouse. And then that was also the same time, during that same day, he put out this Truth Social post. So he's like on the golf course, putting, while simultaneously making Truth Social posts threatening the president of Colombia with tariffs. It's like... Yeah. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's really an incredible time we live in.
Boy, and Democrats don't like this at all. It's like, my God, he's being so mean, so undiplomatic. He's not. He's getting shit done, and that's what we hired him to do. It's why we want him to run the federal government. And it's almost like Democrats have this view, Kurt, of you guys lost your minds. You voted for Donald Trump. Just don't break anything, unlike what Joe Biden did when he became president. So you really expect him to say, man, everything's going great. Joe did a hell of a job. I'm just going to go play golf. I'm not going to do anything. That's not true. So FEMA is another one of those things. He is reimagining the federal government because the federal government is broken. At the end of the day, it spends $7 trillion. It makes $5 trillion. There's a $2 trillion gap. And that's why our debt is running out of control, because at the end of the year, they've got to go borrow more money. And the hole gets bigger, the hole gets deeper. And I love this idea. He wants to reimagine FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. They are the folks who come in whenever there's a hurricane in North Carolina, whenever the fires are raging in California. And Trump made some excellent points. I don't know if you're going to play those in this clip or not. And if you don't, I can make them.
Yeah, this was, I think this is a slightly older clip. This was like right after the fire started. But he's kind of making the same point here. He's saying he's kind of putting some of the responsibility back on the states.
Which is where it belongs.
Yeah.
Because, what he talks about is, FEMA goes into North Carolina. They don't know anything about the state of North Carolina. The governor knows about North Carolina. So he wants to put governors on the front line of their state and have the federal government be a support mechanism. Now you've got all these FEMA people coming in, and the horror stories coming out of North Carolina will just set your hair on fire. There were stories like, FEMA was told that if there was a Trump sign in the front yard, those people did not get taken care of.
Right.
How wrong is that? And I would say that if it were California and they had a Kamala Harris sign in the front yard. Who the hell cares? They need your help, and they need it now. So governors on the front line, block grant money back to the states, and get rid of an agency. Anytime he can get rid of an agency and we get better service, how is that not a win-win?
Yeah. And this is a strength of Trump, too, is that you'll see him kind of going back and forth with these politicians. I don't know who the guy is. And then the mayor, Karen Bass
from LA
is in this meeting too. And this is not in this clip, but in a separate clip, him and her are going at it. And he just has no fear with these people. He'll say right to their faces, you don't know what you're doing. This needs to be done differently. And that's refreshing. So let's see what he says here.
Mr. President, if I can just defend FEMA a little bit.
Yeah.
They brought thousands of people in. I don't know how they're doing in other states. They're doing a good job for us here. They've got a huge center that's open from 9 in the morning till 8 at night. But also, when you have a disaster this size, you need to be able to deploy thousands of people, which they've been able to do. Now, California, if we did it on our own, maybe we'd have thousands of people.
You do.
But if Rhode Island has a Palisades disaster, are they then supposed to keep thousands?
How many people do you have in California? 36? How many million? How many million people do you have?
But
you have 40 million people. You're not going to get a few thousand people? The problem with FEMA is they come from all over the country. They end up in arguments with your people from California because they want to do it a totally different way. And I can live either way, but you haven't gotten very much done with FEMA and all you have to do is look at North Carolina. It's one of the great disasters of all time.
And Mr. President, you can't have Rhode Island maintain a staff of thousands and thousands of people waiting to see if they have a disaster.
Do you know who came in and fixed North Carolina or the process? Other states, people from all over the country came. And you have the same thing. You have a lot of people from all over the country. Getting the people is not a problem. Getting the organization is a big problem. FEMA's incompetently run, and it costs about 3 times more than it should cost.
I'm hoping
we can spend money on schools instead of giving money to bureaucracy.
What a great point there. It costs 3 times more than it should.
Just spot on. I mean, all around, just spot on.
Yeah. So DEI is DOA. And how many people have you heard from? The humanity. Work from home is over. I've railed against work from home. We do it at this company. We did it way too much at this company. And they wonder why revenue is where revenue is at this company. I mean, tell me people are working from home. I don't buy that. And he's like, either get back to the office and do the job you're supposed to do, or, hit the street.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that you're going to take advantage of if you have the opportunity. You know, I will take advantage of every opportunity that I have to work from home. And do I work from home? Yeah. Do I work from home as efficiently as I do when I'm here? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I think anyone that says that they do is just being dishonest. And it's not that you're intentionally being lazy or anything like that. It's just that, you know, there's something about
being
getting
home,
up, putting on, you know, different clothes, going to work, you know, going to a dedicated office where you don't have any other distractions, you know, to keep you away from your job. You're just going to be more effective that way. And, you know, especially with the federal government and the bureaucracy, they just have prolonged it, and not anymore.
You know, a merit-based government is what he's working on here. We have got to get out of this mindset, and it started, I don't know how many decades ago, with participation trophies. Everybody wins. It's okay, Johnny. Everybody wins. We don't keep score in the Little League game anymore because we don't want anybody's feelings to get hurt.
Yeah.
You deal with wins and losses. You learn from the losses. You celebrate the wins, but you learn from the losses. And if we don't have losses, what the hell are we learning? We're not learning anything.
Absolutely.
What do you got there?
Just a couple anecdotes. Well, I'll tell one, actually, a personal anecdote. So I won't say the person's name, but there's a couple that we know from church, and the wife works, she does like federal building contracts or something like that. And so apparently they sent out a company-wide email basically saying, you know, everyone has to come back to work. And then another topic that we're going to get into here shortly is the DEI thing. And they sent another company-wide email saying that all DEI programs have to be canceled. And if anyone knows of like a secret DEI thing or something like that, they're required to turn them in, basically. So,
secret DEI.
Well, there's been some things, you know, they just won't call it that. They'll call it something else, and, you know, try and keep the woke stuff in there. So they are really reeling. You know, they're covering their asses right now. So it's will be interesting to see how it plays out, but it's certainly, I think, a good thing. And then this is a federal worker in Washington that's going to complain about having to go back to work. I thought this was kind of interesting too.
Oh, it happens. What a way to end the week. 5 o'clock on a Friday. Got our notice. Effective March 10th. We're back in the office 5 days a week.
Oh my God.
No telework.
Oh.
And that's the most fucked up thing, is not only did you issue this executive order, Cheeto, but the executive order trumps, unintended, and rescinds any previously agreed upon telework agreements.
Way it works.
So before, I was able to telework once a week when I was in the office every day. Now no mores. I am so upset. I am so mad. And honestly, I also feel for the parents. They're going to need to figure out childcare. They're going to have to commute. So many people don't live in DC and have to drive so far every single day. Like, this fucking sucks. This sucks.
Breaking my heart. You're really breaking my heart.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go to work now. Me. Poor me.
She's like, I had no notice of this. Trump talked about it for a year.
Yeah.
He won the election in November.
Right.
You've had plenty of time. He's doing exactly what he said that he was going to do. One of the other things he said in his inaugural, and I don't know if you saw his speech yesterday, but he was talking about how, God, I had to say some really nasty things about Joe Biden, and he's sitting like right behind me. You know, he said I felt bad about that, but he screwed everything up, and we've got to fix it. One of the things he talked about was there's only 2 genders. Not 72. I mean, when you let these people run amok, there's a list that you can Google that people believe. There are people out there, probably not listening to this podcast, who think that there are 72 distinct genders. Have you seen that list? I think we did an episode on it one time where we went through all of them.
Yeah, all the different flags and everything. Yeah.
So he says there's only 2. That's the official policy of the United States government moving forward. And Secretary of State Rubio has already begun that process. If you renew your passport in the past, if you felt like 1 and 2 weren't going to cover it for you, and you're one of the other 70 out there. They can't do all that in passports. You were allowed to put an X on your passport under gender. Well, that stopped. No more X as a gender. You're either a male or a female. Did you see that some people on the liberal side are trying to take that off of birth certificates?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you don't start out with a designation, you know.
Right.
You got a little winky down there, you're a boy. You don't have a winky, you're a girl.
Yeah.
Well,
you
like,
have to wait for the pervert doctor who
Yeah.
makes $250,000 a year to tell your kid what gender they are.
Well, they're saying take it off the birth certificate so that the child at a certain point in time, probably 9 or 10, can decide, you know, which gender that they are. So there you go. Trump's calling for an end to birthright citizenship. We're going to discuss that later in its own section. And of course, he's making news as we're recording the podcast. Just a couple of quickies off of the wire today. Google Maps is going to change the name of Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Hey!
All they're waiting for is for the update from the U.S. Geographic Name System after the president changed the name last week. They're also going to change Mount Denali in Alaska to Mount McKinley. Obama changed that name back in 2015. It's going back the other way. Users in America will see Gulf of America and Mount McKinley. If you're a user from another country, you're going to see both names on the map.
How is that going to fit on the map? Gulf of America / Gulf of Mexico?
And it'll be a smaller font, I suppose. President Trump is ordering a freeze on federal aid, and boy, is Schumer squealing about that. Donald Trump's administration blatantly disobeys the law by holding up virtually all vital funds that support programs in every community across the country. He came into a broken country. Again, the country spends $7 trillion. It takes in $5 trillion. It's a simple math problem. And he's going to go in and everything is under review as it should be. You can't just say, oh, okay, well, we'll only do a 3% increase this year on this program that we all know is broken. Crazy. This is from our wire service. President Trump has signed a number of executive orders related to the military. Trump signed an order yesterday that reinstates those who were discharged for refusing COVID. We knew about that, and with back pay, they're coming back. Signed another order that bans those who identify as transgender from serving in the armed forces. That's not true. What he did say was he was going to hold them to a standard, right? That's the standard. What is the mission of the military? Is it to be a social experiment where everybody gets to play? No, it's a mission of, when necessary, killing people and breaking things. And are you able to do that? So he's going to hold them to a standard. If they can do it, I don't give a crap what they look like. Do you?
I mean, if they keep it to themselves.
Exactly. Who cares? If they're able to perform the mission, that is all I care about. He also,
but, you know, I mean, there's, you know, I don't know. I don't want to get too into it, but there's a predilection for other problems. You know, let's just put it that way. That may prevent you from serving in the military. So
all right,
that
well,
may be worth
I'm
looking
back
into.
to if you can do your job, do your damn job. So, I mean, that's just a few things that have happened in the wee hours of today. Donald Trump is on the job. Things are happening at a lightning pace, as they should.
You want to watch Schumer real quick?
Sure.
Last night, President Trump plunged the country into chaos. Without a shred of warning, the Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas. It is just outrageous.
Yeah. Well, they're probably terrified, Kurt, because the system that they've had for God knows how long, probably back to FDR, is we're going to fleece the country. We're going to take their money into Washington, D.C., put it in this blender and ferret it out. A little bit here, a little bit there. What if we reimagined the whole thing and kept more of our money for ourselves, for our localities, and for our states, and we took care of our own problems? I mean, it's like a Ponzi scheme. Take all this money, we're going to put it over here, and then it's going to come out to you. It's going to come out to you, going to come out to you. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And are people going to be hurt by just taking a pause on this thing and saying, hey, let's look at this? You have to. He walked into a broken system. It has to be reviewed. Everything has to be reviewed. And they may put some of it back in there. Some of it may come out. The problem with our federal government is once a program has been established, it never goes away. And you folks who listen on the left, who hate listen, and the keyboard warriors out there, I'd love to hear from you. Name me some federal programs that they went, God, you know what? That's not a good idea. Let's close the doors on that. Keep going, Donald Trump. You're really going to get my attention when you close the education department, because I still will say until my dying breath, we do not need a federal department of education. Okay? Education comes in all kinds of forms, right? We educate you somewhat. We save lives on this podcast. And that starts with my good friend, Dr. Mark Taramina at Midwest GI Health. He's the colonoscopy doctor. That's what he's going to be famous for, and he's saving lives. He's getting to colon cancer early and treating colon cancer. You don't get your colonoscopy, and 45 is the new 50. If you're 45, you're approaching 45, get your colonoscopy scheduled. The prep thing is not nearly as bad as it used to be. In fact, it's okay. If you'll drink some Gatorade and don't mind, spending a day pooping to get yourself completely cleaned out, they go in there, they do the check, takes 15 minutes. You take a nice nap. It's a wonderful nap, too. They get that propofol. Have you ever had that?
No.
I'm telling you, man, you're out like a light, and you wake up and you see Dr. Taramina, and he's like, didn't find anything, come back and see me in 10 years. It's a wonderful thing, and it will save your life, because if you get colon cancer and you don't get this colonoscopy and that festers and grows and gets to a point where it's too late, you're going to die. You got friends and family you don't want to check out early on, get with Midwest GI Health and Wellness. 816-836-2200 on the web at midwestgihealth.com. Get that thing scheduled. Get yourself a new lease on life, and then get out of your lease. Go buy you something that you want to live in, that you want to raise your family in. Starter house. Maybe it's a bigger house because you've gotten a bunch of kids. Your kids go off to college. You want to downsize a little bit. Maybe you got a piece of land you want to build on. The guy who can make all those dreams come true, including selling the existing house you have, is Michael Schroer. Schroer. He's a broker with Remax Elite in Lee's Summit, and you could reach him right now at 816-373-8400. Get the conversation started with Michael Schroer. And who knows, maybe, you sell your house, you find a new one just in time for spring, and life is really, really good. And I want to pause here for a moment because something just occurred to me. Last week, a dear friend of mine, we were friends for 40 years, an executive in the radio syndication business. I met him in 1984. We were both going to, 85. Met him in 1980, so it was 40 years ago. We were going to our first country radio seminar in Nashville. He was a young syndicator. I was a young program director. We were going to take the world by storm. He just turned 65 years old in January, 3 beautiful daughters, and something snapped in him, Kurt, and he jumped off a very tall building in New York.
Wow.
Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I don't care how low you get, there's a way out of it, and it's just temporary. So I think, is it 988? Is that the number to call for the suicide prevention line? If you're thinking that things are really bad, call that number, text that number, and talk to somebody.
988.
Yeah, talk to somebody. Don't take that permanent step, because it is permanent. Once you're dead, you're dead. You're not coming back. The problems, as big as they seem, are temporary. So don't do that. And I throw that out there for my Democrat friends. Because after a week, Kurt, I mean, I'm afraid that they're going to shoot their outrage wad, right? They're going to blow their wad because they're losing their minds. It's been a week, people. You got to slow down, slow your roll here a little bit. Now, when Biden came in, again, I told you to go back and listen to episode number 1. We said we'd give him a chance, take him at his word. And then when he started doing things like canceling the Keystone XL pipeline, we disagreed, Mr. President. When all those illegals came across the border wearing Biden-Harris shirts because you told them to come in, we disagreed, Mr. President. These people are just losing their minds.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one example that's been going viral. I don't care about this person, but I did think it was kind of funny. This is Selena Gomez, the singer. And she's fair game. She's a public figure. She's
she
posting
moving?
this on social media. So
Well, wait a minute. Is she moving?
I don't think so.
Because all of them were going to move.
Yeah, right.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that is pretty bad. And, you know, I posted a bunch of stuff on our Facebook page. The latest I put up on the Facebook page, by the way, did you see that Jim Acosta has separated from CNN?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Big time Trump hater. And, you know, I think CNN is actually trying to be a news network again. There was a time when they were just a news network. And they told Acosta, you know, we'd love to have you, Jim, but we're going to move you to midnight to 2 a.m. Right? Yeah. Midnight to 2. So a friend of mine named Sam Yates posted this picture of Les Nessman. And I said this was going to be Jim Acosta's replacement over there at CNN. And actually, there was a bidding war for Les's services between MSNBC and CNN. And it went well into the 3 figures. I mean, wow. $400 or $500. Because Les Nessman...
That's like $1,000 per viewer.
Yeah. Les Nessman is the 5-time winner of the Silver Sow Award. And you don't just give those to anybody. Do you have any idea who Les Nessman is?
No clue.
Oh, my God. All right. Your homework assignment is to go back and do some research about a little television show called WKRP in Cincinnati. All right? Les Nessman was the newsman at that station. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this picture is him covering the turkey drop when live turkeys were thrown from a helicopter in Cincinnati.
Nice.
All right. Humor lost on you today?
That's not true.
So a friend of mine, you know, is like very triggered. I didn't even know he was this far left, right? The White House warns of consequences for Republicans who don't support Trump nominees. And this was an NBC News headline. So one of my liberal friends screams, "Tell me this isn't how Hitler started." And I said, man, you're absolutely right. You got me there. Go back to the German textbooks. It's exactly how Hitler started. When his enemies did things he didn't like, he paid money to primary them in the next election. It's exactly what Hitler did. And this person didn't like my sense of humor and said, look at all these billionaires who are backing people who are going to run against Republicans, you know, who stand up to Trump. And I said, like George Soros, perhaps?
Yeah, or the Lincoln Project, you know, is Republicans that are backed by big money. Koch brothers, you know, are kind of hit and miss in terms of supporting the Trump agenda. But yeah, I mean, there's billionaires on all sides. So let's not pretend like there's a you know, one unique side to getting supported by billionaires.
Exactly. And Nancy Pelosi didn't try and keep her Democrats in line and never primaried somebody. Didn't they primary somebody in the Squad in New York who lost his seat?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe they did. So that happens on both sides. Egg prices. Remember when we talked about everything going up under Biden and the liberals scolded us that it was avian flu that was causing egg prices to go up? And I'm like, okay, I buy that. I don't buy it on every other front, and I think it has to do more with Biden authorizing trillions of dollars we don't have going into the economy, but you got me on eggs. So a week into Trump's presidency, you can find this everywhere. Liberals are furious at Trump because eggs went up a few cents in his first week. A little hypocritical, perhaps? There is an avian flu issue going on right now that's affecting eggs. And I'm sure Trump's dealing with it. He's dealing with everything else, too. But just remember back to when we complained about things, you blamed it on avian flu, and I think that's still going on. I've heard some folks whining on the left saying, we need our own Joe Rogan. Have you heard them say that?
No.
Yeah, we need our own Joe Rogan. You've got Joe Rogan. Here's a headline for you. You had Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He was on the left.
That's what I was going to say.
Exactly. You pissed him off.
Joe Rogan.
You lost Joe Rogan. He came over to our side. You know, you had Elon Musk. Remember when Elon was a liberal?
Yeah.
You had him. And of course, now when he awkwardly throws his hands up in the air, you call him a Nazi and say that's the Nazi salute. Of course, when he was a liberal, if he'd done that and we said anything like that, you would have said, Elon's on the spectrum. You're triggering him. Yeah.
I thought that we didn't really talk about that whole thing, but I thought that was just hilarious. I mean, it was pure
totally
gold.
Ridiculous. All right. The end of the EEOC. This another friend says he's taking us back to pre-1965. Now, I would say, isn't that racist? Are you telling groups of people in this country that you cannot make it in a merit-based society without the government helping you out here? Really?
I think that's what they're saying implicitly.
Exactly. And this is kind of fun. This is maybe not them losing their minds. They will lose their minds when they get to the bottom line of all this. But have you heard that Kamala is meeting with Hillary to chart her political future?
I haven't heard that.
Oh, that's going on. All right. Now, here's my thought for Kamala Harris is, why don't you actually do something and then run, right? It's not. I know the Democrat Party is about, participation awards. All you got to do is show up and say the right things. I think you ought to do something first and then run. Run on your record. You don't have a record right now. It's a lousy record that you do have. Remember, you were the border czar. And then when we called you on that, it's like, well, he didn't really call her the border czar. She was responsible for the border, and she did a terrible job. She was. I still will go down and say that she's the stupidest person to ever hold the office of vice president. I mean, she makes Dan Quayle, who was the previous recipient of the stupidest person to hold the job, look like a Rhodes Scholar. Okay, I try and imagine in my mind the one-on-one conversations between Hillary and Kamala, because they both got beat by Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's probably Hillary talking about all the people that they can kill in order to help them, and then Kamala just laughing hysterically.
Well, what Hillary could offer to Kamala is you just come up with the most absurd, ludicrous lie that you can come up with and sell it. And the media, because you're Kamala Harris, they're going to run with it. I don't know. Maybe come up with, she could say, in my case, I did this Russia collusion thing, which really never happened. And I paid my guys to go out there and get this Steele dossier going. And the liberal media just licked it up like it was milk to a cat. Just, find the most ludicrous, outrageous lie that you can come up with, and they'll take it and run with it. Yeah. That's solid advice.
Seemed to almost work last time. Almost got her there.
Solid advice I'll give you about your roof is you need to get with my pal Austin Watterson at Royal Roofing and Solar, 816-540-7057. If you need a new roof, nobody better to put the roof on your house. I know because he did the roof on my house. Now, solar is their game as well. They call it Royal Roofing and Solar. Mike Dale is their solar expert. And when I say solar expert, I don't mean door-to-door salesman who says that in every case you can put solar on the house and make your electric bill go away. He's got 16 important questions, paces, that he's going to put you through to see if you're a candidate for it. He doesn't want to sell you a system that's not going to work. So Royal Roofing and Solar, 816-540-7057. When you call them up, tell them you want the roof that Dale's got on his house because it's doing really good. Roof inspection's important, especially coming out of winter with all of the winter storms that we've had. Solarbyroyal.com, royalcontractingkc.com. That's how you find them. Then Fun House Pizza. That's where we celebrate everything on Dale Carter's America, the podcast. In fact, maybe Jim Dingman will bring us some pizza for the 200th episode. What do you think?
Hey-o.
By the way, Jim wanted me to tell everybody that you can now order online Funhouse Pizza.
Oh, really? Nice.
And, we talk a lot about Funhouse being a great destination for parties and meetings and stuff like that, but it's also great for take and go. You know what I'm saying? Grab you some pizza and head home. Man, that pizza's making me hungry. We always do this podcast right about my lunchtime.
And we got the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, too, so that'll be a good meal for that.
I don't think you can say that. In radio, we can't say that. I think podcasting, though, it's the Wild West. We can say whatever we want. On the radio...
you can't say it in advertising.
Well, you are.
That is an advertising.
You are. Oh, the Nazis are going to come get us for that. The big game.
No, that was an aside. That was not part of the ad. That was an aside. I was just happened to mention that.
That was content.
Yeah.
Is what that was. Okay.
Editorial.
So Funhouse Pizza, what is their website?
It is funhousepizza.com.
Gee, that's pretty simple.
Go figure.
And you got it up there. You can order online there?
Order online now. And there we go.
Awesome. I went by the Funhouse in Blue Springs yesterday, and he's still advertising for employees, still looking for people. So if you've got a kid and you want to get them out of the house on their first job, get a hold of Jim Dingman, and he will take care of it. Birthright citizenship. Let's talk about this for a second. Trump wants to end the practice of feet dry citizenship. And this has been going on in this country for a very long time. It's the old story of if you've got a pregnant woman, if you can just get her to United States soil before she gives birth, that baby is going to be automatically a United States citizen. Right? That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did this come from? Where did this start? Well, we always go back to the Constitution on Dale Carter's America. And for this, you have to go to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Because think about where the country was coming out of the Civil War. Okay? We had a problem. We had a lot of black people in this country who were brought here against their will and their descendants who were not citizens of this country. And after the Civil War, with the 13th Amendment for emancipation, you had to do something with these people. They had to be citizens, right? Quite frankly, if anybody earned the right to be a citizen, I think it's the people who were taken from their country against their will and forced to work in this country in slavery. I think that's a pretty good argument for earning citizenship. That's where birthright citizenship comes from. It's been bastardized, just like everything else has. There have been court cases about the 14th Amendment, and just like they did with Roe versus Wade, I think they used the 14th as a justification for Roe versus Wade. They twist it and turn it to fit their will. And that's how birthright citizenship became feet dry citizenship. Okay? So, anything you want to jump in on that?
No, I'll chime in a minute.
Because the question is, where do we go from here? The President of the United States called it for what it is. And I know that pisses off people on the left, but he called it out for what it is. Now, he can't end it. There have already been some court cases, challenges in several states against President Trump's ability to singularly end birthright citizenship. But what he has done, and I think he's an expert at this, even things he knows he can't do, right? He gets the conversation started. So the conversation has started, and it's going to wind its way through the courts, and it's going to end at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is probably going to make a landmark decision about birthright citizenship. And who knows? It may go on to an amendment to the Constitution. We've been sitting on 27 amendments for I don't know how long. Look at the Missouri Constitution. We talked about this in an episode. I think it's got like 150 amendments.
Yep.
The federal Constitution has 27. It's hard to get done. Hard on purpose. Hard for a reason. So this may be an issue where we get an amendment to the Constitution to clarify birthright citizenship that is spelled out in the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just common sense. You know, you can read the text, which I just put up on the screen of the Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, but it's just common sense. Obviously, the people who ratified that amendment did not intend for it to be anyone from anywhere in the world, any Guatemalan or Haitian or whoever can just step foot into America, drop a baby, and they're an American citizen. That should be obvious. I mean, if you're allowed to do that, you don't have a country. Just simple as you just don't have a country anymore. So,
but we've been doing it for generations.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the fact that the text of the amendment is written the way that it is going to make it so that something congressionally probably has to be done about it. But you just have to use common sense, and people don't seem to want to do that. So,
common sense seems to be on display with the Trump administration.
Yeah, and I thought J.D. Vance too had a good response on this. He was on Face the Nation, and Margaret, I think her name is, was trying to grill him on a bunch of stuff, trying to get the gotcha questions, and he had a very good answer on this. It's like a 2.5 minute clip, but I think it's worth playing.
There are 5 legal challenges already to one of the other immigration actions, the order on birthright citizenship. A federal judge appointed by Ronald Reagan, I think you'd agree, has some conservative credentials, paused the order to end birthright citizenship, calling it blatantly unconstitutional. How do you reconcile this challenge to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution?
So I obviously disagree with that judge, and these things, some of them will be litigated. That's the nature of our constitutional system. But here's the basic idea of President Trump's view on this. If you are a lawful permanent resident or a legal immigrant who plans to stay, your children, of course, should become American citizens. But let's say you're the child of an ambassador. You don't become...
But that's not part of it.
Well, that is
already a carve-out having
an
to do
important
with kids of
principle.
diplomats.
But we're saying that carve-out should apply to anybody who doesn't plan to stay here. If you come here on vacation and you have a baby in an American hospital, that baby doesn't become an American citizen. If you're an illegal alien and you come here temporarily, hopefully, your child does not become an American citizen by virtue of just having been born on American soil. It's a very basic principle in American immigration law that if you want to become an American citizen and you've done it the right way, and the American people in their collective wisdom have welcomed you into our national community, then you become a citizen. But temporary residents, people who come in here, whether legally or illegally, and don't plan to stay, their children should become American citizens. I don't know any country that does that or why we would be different.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by... This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers, but just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world. No country says that temporary visitors, their children, will be given complete access to the benefits and blessings of American citizenship. America should actually look out for the interests of our citizens first, and that means, again, if you're here permanently and lawfully, your kid becomes an American citizen. If you're not here permanently, if you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and don't plan to be, why would we make those people's children American citizens permanently?
Yeah.
Boy.
He makes a great point.
He does.
With it. Just because we are a country of immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later we have to have the dumbest immigration policy imaginable.
I like the guy. He's going to be a great candidate for president in 2028. So he said everything that I believe there. And you know, the left has their hair on fire about this because their hair's on fire about everything. They are really going to have scorched heads. You're going to know who's on the left, Kurt, when you walk around because they won't have any hair left. They're just going to have burn marks on the top of their head because they're the ones out there saying, well, I guess Native Americans don't qualify for birthright citizenship. How far back will this go? You know, my German relatives came over in the 1790s. Do I count as an American citizen? What's your background?
I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah, you're out.
Yeah. Deport.
Deport. Get on the plane. You're going to Guatemala. All right. If you're in the country legally and you own a house, you own a car, you own a business, you need to insure it. Anything that you care about, you should insure, and that's why Bob Watson's been our guy here. He's been my State Farm insurance agent for 30 years. He's been a State Farm insurance agent for 50 years. He really knows his stuff, and he's got a staff ready to help you get it done. They're at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Bundle your home and car insurance and save, and and auto, home, life, whatever it takes for insurance. Licensed in Missouri and Kansas, officed in Blue Springs, and a great team behind him. And insurance is only as good as when it hits the fan. And when it hits the fan and you call Bob Watson's office, you get a team behind you that's going to take care of you. So before we leave you on episode 199, the last in these walls, at least that's what you say, Barack and Michelle Obama. Let's talk Barack and Michelle Obama, because Michelle has been MIA at two very recent past POTUS FLOTUS events, I call it, right? Where all of the former presidents show up, all of the former first ladies show up. She didn't go to Jimmy Carter's funeral. She didn't go to Trump's inauguration, right? And the story that we're getting is that she doesn't want to be anywhere where Donald Trump is. She hates the man, doesn't want to be anywhere near him, right? So, and she's also been touted as a candidate for president down the road. You've heard that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, before this election, people were floating that.
If you're going to be a candidate for president, you got to show up at these things. When a Democrat president, 100-year-old Democrat president dies, you got to go to the funeral. Okay, so it made me wonder, is there another explanation out there? And how might Jennifer Aniston be involved?
Yeah, I actually don't know if I'll be able to play this due to copyright, but you can go find it on your own. There was an interesting segment on Jimmy Kimmel from a few years back with like some, what do you call it? Like the newspapers that talk about celebrities, like tabloid.
Yeah, tabloids.
Thing about him and Jennifer having an affair, and she's kind of like awkward about it. She denies it, of course, but I don't know. Do I believe that is true? I mean, it's gossip, people like to gossip, so who knows?
Yeah.
But, then there was also the thing a couple years back about, well, more than a couple years back, this guy, Larry Sinclair, that like went on Tucker and all these shows and was talking about Obama being gay and, smoking crack and performing all kinds of weird.
In 2008, it became really clear that Barack Obama had been having sex with men and smoking crack. And a guy came forward, Larry Sinclair, and said, I'll sign an affidavit. And he did. I'll take a lie detector. And he did. I smoked crack with Barack Obama and had sex with him. Well, that was obviously true. Nobody reported it, not because they were squeamish about sex or drugs, but because the Obama campaign said, anyone who reports on this gets no access to the Obama campaign.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, Jennifer Aniston's is a get. You know what I mean?
She's hot.
So if it is true, then that should put to rest the gay allegations. Yeah. But you never know.
You've seen the pictures going around showing a bulge for Michelle Obama where there probably shouldn't be a bulge, and people calling her Michael.
Yeah, Big Mike.
I'm not going to get into any of that. I'm going to just say this. I take them at their word. Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston, they say they're just friends. Is that all you think we can get away with?
Yeah, probably.
All right, fine. Until next week, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.